Hi there, this is Amit with the Part-Time Podcaster. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to set up your recording space for cheap so that you can get clean sound and a great looking video. Let's dive in. The first thing that you need to ensure is that the place that you're recording in, whether it's audio or video, is quiet. It shouldn't have any ambient sound, traffic noise, pets, dogs, things like that going on, because it's very hard to actually remove those things even if you have a good audio editor. And also, you need to ensure that you personally are not creating more sounds, like for example, typing on a keyboard, banging on the legs of the table and things like that. So how do you ensure that the space is quiet? So first, of course, you need to record in a room which is away from traffic, away from a road, as far as possible, of course. If you happen to be in a place or at a time where there's construction going on, I would actually suggest not to record at that time at all. A good time to also do these kinds of things is late at night. When I started my podcast, I actually used to record from 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. at night, when generally people were asleep or winding down for the day, and there certainly wasn't as much traffic. So pick a quiet spot and a quiet time to do your recording. The second thing that you need to ensure is that the room that you're in does not have its own echoes and reverb and stuff like that going on. And how you do it is by being in a room which has a lot of soft furnishings in it. And by that, what I mean is there should be curtains, ideally heavy curtains, carpeting, sofas, basically anything that can absorb sound or at least stop it from reflecting through the room. Because if you're sitting in a room which has a lot of hard surfaces, particularly conference rooms in offices, the sound tends to reflect off the whiteboard, off the glass windows, off the wall. And so therefore, when you actually get the recording, there's this echo in it and it does not sound professional at all. The third thing, of course, that you need to do is speak into a mic. Mics typically tend to be directional, so they take the sound from the direction where you need it, which is basically from your mouth, and it doesn't pick up too much of the sound around. It's not the panacea to all things. So if your room is heavy on echo, there's somebody drilling something outside, a mic is not going to solve for that. But if you're in a basically quiet environment, the mic will certainly make it sound far more studio-like than if you just spoke into your laptop or into your phone. Now, if you're recording audio, there is one more thing that you can do that sounds a little silly, but gives you a great result. And by that, I mean, set up your mic in a closet. So closets, of course, tend to have a lot of hanging clothes and coats and sweaters and things like that. So just put your mic in there, put your face into your closet and just speak as you would normally speak. It will give you great sound, as good as any high-end studio, maybe even better for all you know. Alternately, if you live in a bigger apartment or a house and you have some sort of a walk-in closet, that would work just as well too. Just open all the doors of the closet so the clothes are visible, and that's what's going to absorb the sound. Another way that you could try doing it, which I've seen some singers seem to do, is to sit on a bed, which of course is soft, and with their mic, and put a blanket over their head, which kind of insulates them a little bit from the surroundings. So those are the ways in which you can get a quiet environment for your recording, and it is very important. Almost weirdly, even for a video, the audio is as important as the visuals itself. Great visuals with poor audio does not work. And so you need to invest time, at least, if not money, in trying to figure out how to get the best sound. Now let's get to video. So if you're recording for video, there are really two things that you need to take care of. One is lighting and one is your background. For lighting, let's discuss that first because it's particularly challenging. If you don't have any money to spend, then your best bet is to record in a place where there is good quality daylight, so you're uniformly lit, and where the light is soft. So typically you would want to sit near a window to try and get yourself to be lit well. But the lighting cannot be harsh light. It can't be sunlight directly on your face because it will create shadows It'll show up every imperfection and wrinkle on your face and so on, which doesn't really look good. So if you're doing that, at the very minimum, try to get some translucent white cloth and put that on your window so that it filters the light a little bit. And so instead of getting harsh daylight, you get soft, diffused daylight. And that gives the best look. The issue though is that you will be near a window in the daytime. And what that means is it's unlikely that you will be able to create a quiet enough environment. So if you're lucky and in a place where it's very quiet through the day and you get great light, then this would totally work. Otherwise, you're going to get traffic noise and even things like birds chirping and stuff. So what this means is that you're probably going to have to get yourself some form of artificial lighting, and that will cost some money. You can't just turn on your overhead lights and ceiling lights and all of that and get good enough look for a video. Now let me first say that you should not get ring lights. Ring lights are okay if you're doing a video call, and they are great actually if you're trying to do makeup kind of tutorials where you're looking into the camera like this, and it looks really nice because the ring lights give that little ring sort of look in your irises. It's not great for a podcast or for an episode like what I'm trying to record right now. And frankly, it will not even give you the right amount of light, and it will not be diffused either. So instead, you need to get a soft light kind of setup, something where there's a bulb and there is this translucent kind of cover on it so that the light comes filtered and it is diffused. I'm actually using two lights right now myself. There is one over here, which is what's technically called a key light, and that's the main light which is trying to light me. And then I have another one on the other side, which I've kept more dim. And what that tries to do is remove some of the shadows caused by the main light that I have over here. And by doing that, I'm trying to light myself uniformly, and so should you. So you need to invest a little bit in getting yourself some sort of reasonable lighting. It doesn't cost a lot though. I think these two lights put together probably cost me 70, 80 Singapore dollars, maybe 50, 60 US dollars. I think that is adequate. The benefit of this is that you can record at any time. So even if you're trying to do this in the middle of the night when it's very quiet, you will get great lighting and you won't have to worry about daylight and clouds and things like that. The third thing that you need to do, and especially of course if you're recording video, is to create a great background. There is nothing worse than watching somebody who is maybe saying great things, but their background is super messy. There's like these curtains flying around, there's a little edge of a fan, there's people moving around. It's just a mess. It's very distracting. It looks very unprofessional, and you don't get the kind of feeling where people will want to subscribe and like and share. How some people try to solve this is that they record wherever they can, and then they put those zoom backgrounds and things like that, artificial backgrounds. The issue with that is that everybody knows it's an artificial background, and again you don't quite get that feel. So it's a little bit better, but it's not ideal. You won't see any worthwhile YouTuber or anyone with more than like 50 subscribers who does this kind of a thing. So let's talk about how do we actually set up that kind of a pleasing aesthetic. So the first thing that you have to take care of when you're trying to organize your background is that it needs to be clean. So you can't have a ton of things going on. You need to have a few well-chosen things. So very importantly, there needs to be some sort of texture. And when I say texture, I mean it can't be an unbroken plain wall with nothing else on it. There needs to be something. Paintings, accent lights. In my case, I actually have this fabric kind of thing, and so therefore that breaks it up and creates a bit of texture and so on. So it needs to be clean, but not. And how you choose to do that is entirely up to you. It's up to how the place where you're recording and so on. You could try plants, you could try lights, you could try bookshelves, anything which makes it look interesting. And you need to also similarly remove the clutter. So if there's stuff going on, just move it aside. The rest of your room can look absolutely horrible and in a shambles, but just that portion which is behind you on camera needs to look clean. The other tip over here is something that I think not a lot of people know, which is don't sit right up against the wall. So even if you have set up a nice background and all that, don't go and sit 1 foot away from it. Try to create some depth. So sit some distance away from your background, because especially if you're using a good camera or a phone, what will happen is that you will be in focus, but the background will be slightly blurred and it will create that depth. And the depth is what makes things look really nice. You will see this with Instagrammers, the people who make reels and YouTube shorts, and also frankly with any good quality YouTube videos. They sit far away, minimize the shadows, create a bit of blur in the background, and it creates some interest and it puts focus on you as the speaker versus on all the things around you, while keeping the things around you for some sort of visual interest. Stay away from the background, but make the background pleasing. And that's it. Those are the ways in which you can create your recording setup. So number one, make sure it is quiet, and of course use a microphone so that you get the right kind of sound. Number two is get good lighting, or try to create lighting around you that looks good. And number three is create a pleasing textured background and sit a little distance away from it, so it creates depth and a level of visual interest. So that's it. None of this really costs a lot of money. It needs a bit of creativity though. And so I hope you're able to implement some of this at least. If you do, you will find actually that your overall appeal of your show goes up significantly. So do definitely give it a shot and let us know in the comments what you did, what you thought about it, and maybe any other questions that you might have. All your comments are very, very helpful because we read them, gives us ideas for what to talk about next time. So thanks a lot for joining us today. This was Amit with the Part-Time Podcaster. I'll see you next time.